Happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the black kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
Something incredible is happening that will give Sega Genesis even more power. Game Genie now works with your Sega Genesis system in most games, like Sonic the Hedgehog, Kid Chameleon, Toe Jam, and Earl. Game Genie for Sega Genesis. Excellent.
Something that lives rent-free in my head. Did you know MTV Remote Control had a video game on NES back in the day?
Oh my God. Was it like a trivia game? What was it?
It was like a trivia game, and like they had this fake ass Colin Quinn looking dude. I just remember the contestants that whenever they talk, they'd be like,
They didn't have the animation down pat yet. I like that so Colin Quinn was in the game.
he had blonde hair. I think he was supposed to be Colin Quinn. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not surprised there was a video game, but I didn't even have MTV at that time Remote Control was on. That was every game though. Like in Punch Out, they might throw a noise in.
This one, they didn't have any noise when they were talking. It was just like they were sucking an imaginary dick. But that's not.
I thought it was going to be like a Mario Brothers style game though. Like you had to get to like Colin Quinn was like the Bowser at the end of it. That would have been better. That's just me, thinking off the top of my head.
Might have been a better game. Like the thing with those trivia games, eventually you'll ace them all. You play enough, there's only so many questions, especially on NES.
Yeah.
Like I was getting to the point where it's like, dude, I know even when the things I didn't know, like I know it's this answer. Like, all right.
I've gotten this wrong enough times to know it's this one. So did they, if you got it wrong, they told you what it was, or was it like process of elimination? Obviously they did.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that satisfying. Yeah.
Eventually you find out. But really what I wanted to talk about, man, and I'm late doing this, and shame on me. This is during Black History Month, man. R.I.P. Carl Weathers, man.
Yeah, dude.
I've been so adulting lately, man. I just couldn't get the pieces together to even like, dude, we lost another legend, man. And a lot of people remember him from Apollo, but he was also Action Jackson. He was in Billy Madison. He was in Little Nicky, not Billy Madison, but Happy Gilmore.
He was in Predator, dude. Him and fucking Arnold arm wrestled and flexed them biceps. It's one of the most iconic handshakes of all time.
And dude, I didn't know this. He was in Toy Story 4. He was Combat Carl.
Yeah, I mean, he was on Arrested Development. You might have said that, but he's got a sense of what I love is was yoked as hell. I mean, if you went back in the day, Carl Weathers was going toe to toe with Arnold in Predator. That everybody was juiced to the gills. And then he goes to like Happy Gilmore, and he's hilarious. He's hilarious in Arrested Development, just playing himself, just trying to grift people and stuff. He obviously was like a cool dude too. So huge loss.
Huge loss, man. By all accounts, bro. Like, a lot of celebrities on the Instagram timelines, they have like their personal picture, with Carl Weathers, and he's smiling, man, and like they have these kind words to say about the guy, man. We had like for Black kids growing up, we had Shaft, but like he was like the Michael Jai White of his time, man. Like as far as like a actual badass dude that could beat your ass in real life, and he played these like huge like action like hero kind of people, man.
Also, he was
cool
acting
dude.
up until till he died, because he was on that Mandalorian show.
Exactly.
And he was killing it in that. I think he was like actually playing a character that was small, and he killed it and was so popular, which is a testament to what you've just said. They brought him back and made him like a huge character in the show. So the guy's a badass. He was awesome in Predator. That's really where I like learned. Well, I don't know if I saw Predator or Rocky first, but both those huge parts of my childhood.
And he was also an NFL player, man. Before all of that, he was He was
Damn.
an undrafted free agent for the Raiders, man. He was a linebacker.
Damn, Carl comes in, just sacks your quarterback, Carl Weathers.
I think this was during the Madden days, if I'm not mistaken, man. But RIP, man. Gone too soon, for sure.
Yeah, dude, I saw that one. That's unexpected, and yeah, it's crazy. Like, especially with like, I guess, wrestling and stuff. And man, we're losing a lot of like legends now. It sucks.
A
People
lot of
from
people
our
we grew up
childhood.
watching. And speaking of death, and totally unrelated, but it's related to our show. I want to correct another snafu of sorts. Last week I said that Jeffrey Dahmer he got his sentencing on the 15th, and the 15th was actually the day that they said he was stable. You know, he was trying to play that whole "I'm crazy" right. Like, nah, you knew what you were doing. The 17th is actually when they gave him his sentencing, man. But either way, rest in hell, rot in hell, you funky punk bitch.
Yeah, suck a dick, fucking Dahmer, you fucking turd, psycho. But forgiven, Steve. The guy was a jerk off, so that's our fuck you to Jeffrey Dahmer. Just getting the date wrong because we don't care.
We really don't. You know, it's more about the ego. You know, like I just want to be correct as much as possible. But anywho, fuck him.
Danita Stokes, president of HAG.
It's bad enough that Sega Genesis has the most 16-bit games, but this new Sonic the Hedgehog, oh, he really dusts my doilies. They say he's incredibly fast. Well, what's the hurry, mister? And about his attitude. Smarty pants! Why can't it be more like that nice boy Mario? Oh! Little brat!
Sonic the Hedgehog, now included when you buy a Genesis system.
Hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Mad G with Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your real world tapes and your reality bite soundtrack, because I'm a creep. I'm a loser. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here.
Man, dude. That's something we'll get to with that song and that band, but I realized today that I had been mistaking one band for another band my whole life, Steve.
Well, today, my friend, we're talking about all things February 22nd. In the 90s, I tell you what. Starting off in 1991, Bride of Reanimator airs in theaters. Doctors Herbert West and Dan Kane discover the secret to creating human life and proceed to create a perfect woman from dead tissue. Directed by Brian Busma, starring Jeffrey Combs, Bruce Abbott, Claude Earl Jones, Fabiana Yadino, David Cale, and Kathleen Kinmont.
This style, I think maybe there were sequels to this, or this was a sequel or something, but very it's got a weird tone, but it's got some crazy like special effects in it too.
It's a series, and if you're a fan of H.P. Lovecraft, it's worth a watch at least once. This is available on YouTube, the whole movie actually. And we covered another H.P. Lovecraft inspired movie, man, and that one was weird and out there. The thing about like his readaptations, like he's basically created his own universe. So you have to like throw out logic and all these other things because there's certain characters who can do things that like in reality humans can't do. And you know, this is one of those things. Bride of Reanimator, it's kind of like weird science meets Frankenstein.
Great description. Great description.
You know,
there's drama. The one doctor, shout out to the one doctor who I believe was one of the antagonists in the Peter Jackson, Michael J. Fox supernatural thriller, The Frighteners. I believe he was a dude that had a bunch of scars and shit on his back. He's weird, but the other guy, they create a woman out of parts, and then I think one of them falls in love with it, you know, because that's what happens, you know. You create these dead bitches, Steve, Don't get it. Don't get your heart involved, because
And then like the guy behind me that's with the bride, he has a girlfriend and she gets jealous and they start fighting. They start in a cat fight over this guy. It's basically Frankenhooker without the titties, without the nudity.
and I got to side with the girlfriend who's alive on this, because, I mean, you don't envision in your wildest dreams that you're gonna have to go to your boyfriend and say, "Hey, stop fucking the dead chick." Like that's probably gonna cause some issues.
Her pussy don't work anymore. But also in 1991, the final episode of Disney's Adventures of the Gummy Bears airs. 6 seasons and 65 episodes. A group of reclusive humanoid bears and a few trusted humans explore their lost heritage and prevent their enemies from exploiting it.
And they've got the secret recipe to gummy berry juice, Steve. And if we all know, God bless, like, let's get that juice out and get it to a twerk competition, because they were on to twerking even before, Atlanta was hip hop. They were doing it. They were bouncing on their asses. The song for this show might be one of the greatest theme songs to a cartoon ever, because I remembered it. I mean, to this day, it's never gone away, Steve.
In the chorus, doesn't he say gummy bears, something, something, something
Everywhere, something else and something else. They are the gummy bears. I don't remember it all, but you could sing the beat, Steve. You remembered it.
I wonder if that Miller Boyette person created it, because he
If he did, then this person needs to be enshrined in some Hall of Fame. I don't know what, but that's
he knew
crazy.
how to make those epic themes, man. This was actually the first Saturday morning cartoon series created by Disney. This came before DuckTales, I believe, man. So this is the OG. This was their litmus test. Let's put our toe in the water and try this out. And hey, man, Disney, you should. I don't know why it took this long.
Yeah, that maybe just because I don't know. It's freaking Disney. But I mean, as a little kid, dug it. It's kind of in like a weird, like, it's almost like Robin Hood-ish times. It's not in like modern day. They're always just fucking with some medieval like warlord dude. Again, if they drink this juice, they can bounce on their ass literally anywhere. Basically flying. And I think they get some other superpowers from the juice. I don't really remember the gist of the actual story of what's going on there, but give me some. And like I said, get this to a twerk competition, Steve. Get this juice to a strip club immediately. We'll make millions. Bitch, drink this gummy bear juice.
I want to hear some gummy bears chopped and screwed. But in 1993, Radiohead releases their debut album, Pablo Honey. And that is the one with Creep.
Yeah, dude. And like I kind of alluded to in the intro, I wasn't into Radiohead. I did like that song, the Creep song. I didn't know who it was. I just heard it and liked it. I'm an ignorant person. But I think that if I heard Radiohead, I thought that they were the band, and I just forgot their name because we're doing the show, so of course I can't remember it. Chris something. They're huge. They're an English band. I'll think of it. But
Coldplay?
Yes, exactly.
You
I
thought
thought
it was
Radiohead
Coldplay?
was
Wow.
Coldplay. I'm an idiot, Steve. That's how dumb I am. But shout out to Creep. It is a great song. I think it was used in many movies, and kind of is how I felt as a young kid. So, thanks. Thanks, Radiohead.
They capitalize off that angst in the mid 90s, man. And they were a part of my favorite South Park episode, Scott Tenorman Must Die. I love that episode for a lot of reasons. Anything Cartman centric is great. And we show like the max of his pettiness on there.
Why don't you cry about it, cry baby?
Yes. And if I'm not mistaken, it was really them.
I think it was. Yeah, hell yeah. That's something I forgot South Park was doing, like in the earlier, what they're earlier being like maybe season like 6 or 7, 8. Like, remember when Korn was on it and Korn did the voices and stuff too? Like, they would just like have cool guests on and let them do the voices. It was cool.
In 1996, Seinfeld is airing season 7, episode 16, The Doll. Susan's friend interferes with Jerry's planned jokes. Susan's doll reminds George of his mother. Frank Costanza builds a billiard room.
This is a Costanza heavy episode, and I absolutely love that. Especially
Always
the
the
dad.
best.
Jerry Stiller is one of the greatest actors, comedian, whatever you want to call him. He's one of the best. Rest in peace.
Oh, man, yeah. You never support me.
So in this, Jerry is always on stage at the beginning of this episode, but I don't think rarely do we ever watch him just walk off stage and into the show. So in this, we see him get off stage. But then he just basically, he's in Memphis, so he's not expecting to see friends. But then this lady walks up. I think her name's Sally. Shelly. And it's played by Kathy Griffin. And nobody wants to see that getting off of anything. But Shelly is annoying, Steve. And Jerry's doing everything he can to get away from her. But I think she's friends with
Susan,
George's wife.
George's fiance or wife, yeah. And she was roommates with her in college. She's Shelley Weaver. And she tells Jerry, "You are so funny." No, really. Listen to me. She's like, "Oh, I believe you.
I'm a pro.
I'm gonna take you to dinner."
She just wants, and she knows everything, Steve. And he gets away. He fends off all of the attempts to hang out, because I think also Susan said that they would be great together. They'd love each other. You guys they're so funny. It's one of those. And, but one last annoying thing that Shelley does is like, "Hey, can you take this gigantic wedding present back to Susan for me? Take it on the plane. It's not of carry-on size, but this thing is gigantic, Steve. And Jerry's a nice guy, I guess, and does it. But I mean, good God, lady, what's in the box? 7.
You check in, and now we're back at the little hangout spot, and George is talking to his dad, and Frank is just like, "Son, we're not going to Florida, as you know." It's like, "Yeah, I'm fully aware of it." It's like, we're going to stay here, and I'm thinking about turning your room into a billiards parlor, maybe a bar, give it some real authenticity.
I mean, why not? I don't know why George has hard feelings about this. That's hilarious, but he really just doesn't want to be hanging out with his dad. And he sees Elaine walking by, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Elaine, look, great, you could join us." So he can deflect some of this energy off of him. And I love Elaine's like, "Oh, she doesn't want to sit down because George's dad's there." She's like, "I got that thing, remember? I got to go to that thing." And George is like, "Oh, you're in luck because that thing's done. It's canceled. So you can sit down."
The thing's over with.
It's good.
So she sits down, and she's just like, "George, did you show him the picture I took in Tuscany?" It's like, "What picture in Tuscany?" "There's a little man in front of a sign that says Costanza." "Costanza? I gotta get that picture. It's probably my cousin Carlos. Did you talk to him?" "No. Gotta get that picture."
Just take the picture. I just thought George would like it. Yeah, so now Frank Costanza thinks he's going to find his long lost. And I mean, if it is, what are the odds, Steve? What are the fucking odds there? Excuse my French.
Small world, man.
And then we cut to the plane because Jerry's coming back from Memphis. And as I said earlier, this goddamn present that Shelley gave him, it can't fit anywhere. So instead of being on above him or out of the way, he's got to sit with this massive box on his lap. And that's just not cool. It just adds to the screw Shelley storm going on inside Jerry's head, Steve.
Yeah, and the stewardess sees this. He's like, "Well, sir, you can't have this on your lap the whole ride. So I'm going to put your other bag into the overhead like compartment." So she does that, and she just slams that motherfucker in there. And in the next scene, we see that like the barbecue sauce that Jerry was trying to like take from Memphis back home, it just got shattered all over his shirt, and like that was going to be a part of his bit on this talk show he's going to, Charles Grodin talk show, and there was a guy on the barbecue sauce bottle that actually looked like Charles Grodin, and that was going to be his bit. All gone.
That's it. I mean, I guess Jerry's a prop comic. But I mean, what a bitch of a thing to open up after a trip. Barbecue sauce all over his clothes. Well, Kramer's there. He doesn't want to left a gift horse in the mouth. He starts like pulling sauce off of the clothes while everybody's talking, because you don't want to waste that sauce, Steve. So he's going to make himself a sandwich. Make sure that goes to good use.
And something else we left off. So the picture of the guy in Tuscany, Elaine doesn't have it. The maestro has it, and the maestro was somebody that she went on trip with to Tuscany. So he has all of those pictures, and she hasn't talked to him since they came back, and she's holding this poster that is near and dear, she thinks, to him. It's a picture of the three tenors. It's Pavarotti, Placido Domingo, and the other guy. Yeah.
That other guy. That sucks for that other guy, though, because this show's so famous, he'll forever be the other guy. Who was the other guy?
Jose Carreras.
Okay. Well, I'll forget that in 5 minutes. So, Jose, sorry, you're the other guy. But she's hesitant to hang out with the maestro because of all this, which means getting that photo is going to be kind of tough, but that's part of it. You're right. When we're back to Jerry's, sorry, I'm spaced there for a second. We're back to Jerry's, and the other thing that annoyed me about this was the ultimate annoying thing about this gift, right, Steve? It caused the barbecue sauce bit. It was annoying to carry. It was huge. What's in this huge box? Well, George is at Jerry's apartment. He opens up the box. It's just a fucking doormat, Steve. It's a doormat that says the Costanzas. Thick as a sumbitch, but why the big ass box?
And George says that Shelley is actually an executive at Federal Express. And Jerry's like, dude, she's an executive? She has the money to ship that. Why did I have to carry that? Why did I have to carry it?
And that's crazy. I would be, as soon as I opened it and saw that, I'd be like, this fucking... But he's eating that one. He's eating a little crow on that. But then I think Kramer agrees to go over to George's house to maybe, keep his dad company.
Well, he offers to take it over because George let everybody know that like his old room is being turned into a billiards parlor. And Kramer's like, oh, I got to check out the old man. You know what I'm saying? We're about to play some pool. You know what? I could drop off that doormat. So he goes and visits Frank. They're playing billiards. He's already got the table set up. And Frank, he's old school. You like to gamble? $5 a game. And as we see, there's not enough space in the room to do anything. You can't pull your cue ball back. You can't break. You can't even do the little chalk on there's no room. They're just tight on space.
Yeah, I mean, Kramer puts a pool cue through a window at one point. It's just tight. You got to keep that in mind, man. I had a pool table in my basement when I was a kid. There were certain angles that we had support poles in the basement. You just couldn't hit a shot. So they're in a fucking closet trying to play pool. It's great.
And now we're at George's, and we see that his wife now, Susan, she's moved her stuff in. And now she has her doll collection in the room. George goes into the bedroom, and immediately what catches his attention is a doll that looks like his mother. And he tells her this. She's like, just you tripping. Get it out of here. It doesn't look like your mom.
You don't recognize? I mean, come on. Where'd you even buy? Is it made of face skin? That doesn't look like a doll face. That looks like it's made of human skin, Steve.
Oh, Georgie. And then back at the Costanzas.
Here, let's pause here. You're engaged to a woman. She's moving in. Maybe he saw this at her apartment, but if this comes into your place, or you have to, she comes with a doll collection. Fuck one that looks like your mom. Just a doll collection like this. I mean, I'm gonna rethink the marriage, Steve. You know, especially if this was like a hidden thing, and then she moves in, is like, oh, it's my doll collection. Here's the creepy soulless eye doll with like the English military outfit on. What the hell? Why do you have all this?
Yeah, right next to the Mary Poppins doll.
And then, okay, all those seem kind of like stylistically the same kind of doll. Then you look at that hellish thing. That's from a Goosebumps fucking book, Steve. Like, I don't like that. And neither does George.
And back at the Costanza house, like they're still playing the same game. They haven't even finished it yet. George's mom comes in there. She's like, "You've been up here for 3 hours." And so, like, Frank, he mentions this picture. It's like, you know, the maestro. Kramer knows the maestro. He can get that picture. And she's not trying to hear any of this shit. Would you stop bothering people about that picture? You never support me. You never believe in me.
Yeah. They don't have a great marriage anyway, but this is just yet another thing that's going. It's just another stake in between them, Steve. The Costanzas, they're in love. You know, they love each other, but God damn it, Frank needs to find this cousin. I also want to add to the creepiness of the doll thing. It's weird Susan doesn't see that it looks exactly like his mom. That's weird enough, because, bitch, you see that. It's also really weird that doll she wants to sleep with, and I believe they even start to get intimate, and the doll's like right there looking at him, which, like, come on, lady.
You're doing, like, what grade are we in? Like, I always slept with my dolls. Bitch, you're like 45 now. Like, and so now, like, they're trying to get into it or whatever, but George just puts a pillow over the doll's head. Like, all right, I ain't trying to see that shit. It's making me soft.
Well, Jerry, we come back to Jerry's now. And Jerry offers to take Elaine to a show in town. It is the Three Tenors that we've been discussing. And I think they're going to be part of the show he's on. Is that what it was?
Well, it's not Pavarotti. It's not Domingo. It's the other guy that's going to be on the show. And another little side piece story is that Jerry, he found this new electric toothbrush that he's been trying to push on Elaine. It's better than yours. You should try it one time. It's called Oral Dent. And she's like, whatever. It ain't better than my shit. So that happens. And like, once he tells her that guy from the Three Tenors is going to be in the show, she's like, oh, I gotta go now. The maestro loves this guy, and it would be perfect if I can get his autograph. So while that's going on, George comes in and he's looking tired. It's readily available on his face. And he's just like, bro, I have not slept. I got to go pick up this rug at my parents' house. Susan wants to have it out when Sally comes to town. What? Sally's coming to town? What? Why is she coming to town?
And, you know, he's pissed. He's like, you know, she's coming here? Okay. Well, I'm going to call that bitch and tell her to bring me some of that barbecue sauce because it busted in my bag. So now I can get that back and have it ready for Charles Grodin show. Because, I mean, that's my joke. And I do like everyone in his life is like, why don't you just write a joke for the show? And he's like, did you hear what I said? It's a bottle of barbecue sauce with a guy that looks like Charles Grodin. What's better than that? I can't write anything better than that.
Plus, I want her to pay. I want her to travel on a plane and carry like some huge package on her lap. See how she feels.
Give me a case of the shit.
Whole case.
Well, then we cut to the maestros. We finally get to see the maestro here. Maybe we've seen him in a past episode. I don't think so. Very pompous dude. He's a maestro, Steve. I guess when you get that title, you become an even bigger douchebag. But he's there, and Kramer and George's dad, are begging to look at these photos that the maestro has of this trip. They got to see these photos.
They find out that it's not. He doesn't have them on him. They're probably at his house. It's like, well, I tell you this. You come back to my place, we can play some pool. You like pool? All right. What do we call it, Kramer? The place to be. We call it the place to be. You can come over here, hang out. He's like, all right, that sounds like a plan. I like playing some pool. So he gets up, and we see that he has no bands on. It's a trick that he learned. Apparently, it's perfect crease by not sitting in them before the performance.
Creepy as all hell, but that's a great excuse to flash dong. I love that. You want to just show somebody your D? Tell them you're trying to get the perfect crease. Back to Jerry's. And George, fed up with this doll situation, he needs a second opinion. He brings the doll. It's like, do you see this? Like, this looks like my mom, right? It's talking to me. It's telling me to kill the president. I can't, we got to get this thing out of my life.
She keeps shrinking. She'll look like this in 10 years. And Elaine, she comes in and she brings the poster of the three tenors. And then Sally, she comes in and she has some barbecue. And we find out that she was able to put the barbecue in a seat next to her because it was empty. Lucky Sally. So Jerry feels a certain way about that. Like, oh, I wanted you to fucking suffer.
Well, and also she brought I'm sorry, go ahead.
He opens the package and it's not even the right barbecue. But Sally says, like, oh, any barbecue that's not this in Memphis is considered a joke. That's right, bitch. It's a joke.
This doesn't have Charles Grodin looking dude on it. What is this? And she's like, in Memphis, this is the best sauce. People love this sauce. And he's like, oh. Okay, Sally, thanks.
Just knows everything.
And then we go to a diner where, I mean, again, I get this doll's messing with you, but you got to put it in a bag or something, because George is eating at the diner with the doll, looking at him and muttering like fuck yous to the doll, like, stop looking at me, Mom. And people are like starting to look before he leaves the diner.
Why do you eat so fast? You can't even taste it.
Don't tell me how to eat.
Shut up. And some lady's like, the but it's New York. I mean, that's like kind of what you would hope for, honestly, and not some guy like pulling shit out of his ass when he sits down next to you.
At least this part of the day. And he's got that going on. And eventually he just takes her out of the place and he's talking to her. The lady sees this, and I think that's a callback. She's a character from another episode where he's just losing his shit. And she says that man needs to be in the sanitarium.
And then we cut to George's parents, and we got a pool game going on, Steve. Everybody's got no pants on. It's maestro style. That's what I'm going to start calling it when I walk around the house with no pants. Maestro style. Which I guess is a good look if you're going to go on a talk show, but they're like giving each other pool tips and like getting real close on each other with some boxers on. So that's kind of sus. Don't be showing me how to do a pool shot with no pants on. That's just that's one of my rules. That's one of my personals. So sorry about that, but
unspoken rule. Everyone comes in my house has to have pants on. And Kramer, still short on space because it's a small room. So eventually he has the bright idea to use the maestro's baton. And now he's hitting all of them motherfuckers. Corner socket.
I got this table. What does he say? He's like, I own this table.
Something along those lines, yeah. And we also see Jerry, I think before this happens, Jerry, he calls over to George's, thinking he's talking to Susan. It's like, hey, Susan, this is Jerry. Could you make sure that that George brings a picture of his mom along with that doll that looks like his mom, but it's actually Sally. And Sally's like, oh, don't worry, Jerry, I got you covered. And so that was a thing. And then so Elaine, she brings the poster over, and it's the other guy. She brings it over to visit Jerry, and the other guy is in there in the dressing room. That's not Pavarotti. That's not Domingo.
It's you.
He signs the poster. He's cool about it. Jose Carreras. And she says, "Thank you, Mr. Camaro." But Jerry, he's still trying to push that electric toothbrush on her. And he's got the package for her about the size of that package he brought on the plane. He's like, and she's just like, why does it have to be so big for an electric toothbrush? Like, well, they have to be very careful about this.
It's a complicated setup, but it's worth it.
And he has no pants on.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going Maestro style. The word's gotten out. I mean, I've never even thought of this, but logistically speaking, it makes all the sense in the world. I don't know how good it is like in public, but he's sitting there, he's showing thigh, he's trying to serve up some man ass, but he's gonna be on Charles Grodin, so you can't have a crease in those pants,
And he learned that trick from Kramer, who learned that trick from the Maestro, and Maestro, he's there at the Costanza house now, I believe. And he shows everyone the picture. He shows the mom the picture, and she's not believing it.
But I do want to point out that while Jerry does have no pants on at the backstage, he goes to maybe go to the bathroom, comes back, and the other tenor guy, Jose Camaro, Cassis, or whatever his name is, he's wiping his goddamn mouth on his pants. I mean, the stones on this guy. I don't care what tenor you are.
That's sloppy as hell, man. I thought you guys were classy. And also, something important, Sally, she shows up in the dressing room and she has the box, but it's not the doll that Jerry wanted. It's another doll with a beret. It's like a French doll with a beret and a little bow tie. Oh, this one is way funnier, Jerry. You need to use this one. So he's dealing with that.
Oh, Kathy, Sally, whatever. You bitch. Then we cut to Maestro's. Elaine's going to give that poster to the Maestro. And, I mean, the guy can't, he's enthralled. He's like, you know what? I got this show afterwards, though. We're going to celebrate because this is amazing. He leaves. What does she do? Knocks over a goddamn bottle of wine right on the poster. She, history repeats itself. What are the odds?
With that big ass box of Oral Dent. And Frank, he comes over with the picture and he sees the doll. He goes to his son's house and he sees the doll and immediately it catches his attention. And it's talking to him now.
So ridiculous. No one cares about that picture. It's not their cousin.
Ridiculous? I'll show you ridiculous. And then he goes straight to the doll and just rips her head off. Now, what do you have to say for yourself?
Fatality. Susan's pissed. She's pissed that George took the doll out. Now the doll is completely decapitated. So, I don't know how this marriage is going. It's not going in a great direction here. But then we cut, Steve, to a beautiful scenic view of Tuscany. We're there. And we see this guy sweeping. Then we see Frank Costanza walk in and approach the guy. And I mean, cousins, maybe. These guys look like goddamn twins. But Frank asked the guy, are you Carlos or whatever? And the guy's like, no. He denies it. But I mean, it is him, Steve. They could be clones.
My name is Giuseppe. Oh, I guess I was wrong.
That's it. What a great... this show is so good, dude. I've slept on it too much, but every time we watch it, it's hilarious. It's Jerry Stiller, dude. The Still Dog.
Great writing. It was like the son is trying to prove to everyone that the doll looks like his mom. Meanwhile, his dad is trying to prove to everyone this guy in Tuscany is my cousin. And then in this last scene, it was just oh, everyone thinks I'm tripping. Everyone thinks I'm losing my mind. And like the fact that he just came in there and he saw what his son, or he heard what his son was hearing. It just, oh, like it's so intricate. I love like it's great writing, man.
Oh yeah. Shout out to again. Rest in peace. Shout out to Jerry Stiller. Amazing. I also watched Heavyweights this week. He's in it 5 seconds. Hilarious. This guy kills
Chewing up scenery.
everything all the time, even over the top of his crazy son in that movie. But what a guy, dude.
R.I.P. man. But in 1997, Miss Evers Boys airs on HBO. The true story of the U.S. government's 1932 Tuskegee syphilis experiment, in which a group of black test subjects were allowed to die, despite a cure having been developed. Directed by Joseph Sargent, starring Alfred Woodard, Lawrence Fishburne, Craig Sheffer, Joe Morton, and Ozzie Davis. It was nominated for, I believe, some Emmys. It won Golden Globe, Alfred Woodard for Best Actress in a Miniseries. It won the Golden Laurel Awards for Outstanding Producer of Long Form Television. It was a co-winner for Best Actress in a Miniseries, the Golden Satellite Awards. It won a bunch of awards, man. Even Cable Ace, it won for Outstanding Made for Television Movie in the Emmys that year, lead actress. So it's swept, man. And
Good watch.
yeah, it's history, man. Like, and the fact that like we went to a Perrysburg. Now, there are a lot of other schools like, where people who probably should know about this, whether you're black or not, man. Like, this was a thing. This is an actual experiment that happened here in the States that they did on black men who were suffering from syphilis. There was a cure for it, but like her job was basically to console these men. And like she had a tough job, man. Like I can't fully paint her as the like she was partially a protagonist because she did know, but like it was her job to like that was a part of the experiment. Like these guys weren't supposed to know. Lawrence Fishburne was the guy that was kind of like letting them know, like he got the plug on it. He heard through the grapevine, like, hey man, like fuck this experiment, let's get up out of here, bro. So it's touching, man. And like, I recommend this for anyone, man. Especially if you're American. This is a part of American history.
I mean, that's just crazy. I've never heard of it with everybody in it and stuff. I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, man. Available on Max. And that same year, 97, ECW is airing the Supercard Cyber Slam 97 at the ECW Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This was actually a two-part show. It had 2 nights. The first night was in New York City, and this is the second night. And this I call attention to because the Gangstas, Mustafa Saeed and New Jack, R.I.P., they had a match against the Dudley Boys. And I remember this because New Jack, he has Devon on a table outside of the ring, and he hops on that balcony, where they jump off and shit. And he's already bloody the fuck up at this point, and he just drops on the Devon. He barely makes the table. Like if he was off by like a couple inches, he could have met his maker that night, man.
I don't understand how those dudes can just like they just have balls. But that ledge that those people were dropping off of in those ECW matches, I mean, even if there's some kind of thing to catch you that's not a guy in a table, even if you had all the pillows in the world, I'd be hesitant to do it. They're just like base jumping onto a body. I mean, what the fuck does that feel like?
I think this is like prime ECW, man. Like we're getting towards the end of the best shit because Raven, he's not going to be around for too much longer, man. The first match at CyberSlam 97 was John Cronus and Perry Saturn versus Rob Van Dam and Sabu. And Rob Van Dam and Sabu, I've never said this before, I don't think. They're one of my favorite tag teams. I would probably at least top 10. I don't know if it's top 5, man. But like the fact that they had like different styles, they're both high flying, but like their characters were different. Rob Van Dam is like the flashy, like pretty guy that does all of these fantastic moves. Sabu does his shit sloppy and like drunkenly, kind of like he might fuck himself up more than the opponent, but I like that too. But the fact that like they were a tag team and like their finisher was super dope. They would come from opposite sides of the ring and give like frog star splash, and then the other guy Sabu would come in and give a leg drop. The shit was so gangster, man. And it's not a Sabu match if there's not a handshake at the end. And Sabu, he's doing double duty in this card because the main event is him versus Chris Candido, RIP. And I like Candido more as I learned about him after he passed, man. He put on a good match with Sabu, and they do that handshaking thing, even though Candido's a bad guy. He was getting booed before the match, but throughout the match, he's getting his props because he's getting some high spots, and the man could always work. He grew up a wrestling fan, and he was a great performer. One of the things I love about ECW fans, man, if they see a good match in front of them, man, they will give you your respect. They will forget everything they said prior about you, and for that moment, they'll be like, "Dude, you are the shit. You are the shit." Basically give them props where it's due, man.
They're real wrestling fans.
Purists, man.
I love that.
But in 1998, February 22nd, King of the Hill is airing season 2, episode 16, Traffic Jam. Inspired by an African-American comic who teaches at the traffic school Hank is attending, Bobby takes his own white nationalist comedy to a downtown comedy club. Clarity ensues.
Yeah, this is so good. And we get a nice cameo from Chris Rock in this too. As Budasak.
Budasak.
Love that name. In Texas. And we start off, Peggy's stressed. They're coming off a break, and she's got all these essays to grade. She can't stop. She's just in grade mode. I think it's what we did on our winter break. So she's just giving out A's and B's. Hank's backing out of the carport. And, God damn it, fender bender with Khan. And I love Khan in this because this is what I would do. I haven't been in an accident in a long time, but immediately grabs the neck, Steve. You got to.
Oh, my neck. I'm going to sue you. Oh, it's just uninsured redneck. I have everything better. I have everything you have, but better. Why would I sue you?
And I love that. Khan is a dickhead, dude, but he's right. He's got it all. And Hank goes to his insurance agency, and he's getting some bad news, which is basically the insurance agency's job. Got to pay some money, this, that, and the other, and his rates are going up. Unless he takes a traffic school class, and then his rates won't go up. He just has to pay the premium, whatever adult shit.
Why should my rates go up, Mr. Alike Lahalihi? But yeah, he does. He agrees to take the defensive driving course, and it's spelled in a certain way. He's like, maybe they can do better with the spell checking, because it's spelled defensive driving school. And I don't know if this is a thing in other states, but I know in Houston, maybe it's a Texas thing. The defensive driving school doubles as an amateur comedy club spot. And ironically, I came from that place the night I got pulled over. I did a horrible set. I don't think I got a chuckle that night. My 5 minutes seemed like 5 years. It was like, all right, I'm going to get another one of these Crown and Cokes, and I'm going to go out the side door expeditiously, TI style. And yeah, man. Is that a thing in others? Like, is that common?
I mean, I remember, and I didn't have to go to it, but I remember seeing like signs for comedy driving school that, like, if you got some kind of, it was the same thing. Like if you get a traffic ticket or you get some kind of trouble, you could do that. So I don't think it was amateur comedy. I think it was open mic comedy, but fuck it. If it's not going to make your rates go up, I get it. Hank, go. Maybe look in the pamphlet a little bit more, though. Just check it out a little bit more closely, because I don't think he knows what he's getting into necessarily.
And so now Hank's there, and he sees Khan. Oh, what are you doing here, Hank Hill? And like he sits down next to Khan, and it's Budasak. Budasak in the house. Budasak in the house.
Man, look at all these white people over here. And he immediately sees fucking Hank, dude, just goes in.
Oh, Budasak, he's so crazy.
look at this girl. Booty's so big, they put numbers on her butt. She can make license plates.
I'm trying to learn defensive driving. You know, Hank's not having any of these shenanigans. He didn't know this was some comedy shit, and he's getting into it with Buddha.
Go, Cracker, go.
And back at the Hank Hill's house, you know, he's got to blow off steam. He's not happy about this class, Steve. He's been getting it. He's getting honky this, booty that, no booty that, smelling like a wet dog this, the whole thing. He's getting it all, Steve.
And he tells Bobby about this. Oh, you saw the booty sack? He's my inspiration for comedy. I saw him on a breakfast at Apollo.
I like this though because this was like me being a white kid growing up. I was Bobby Hill watching, being like, this guy's hilarious. I wouldn't have done what Bobby does, but I love that. Innocent little Bobby Hills just watching Def Comedy Jam, Steve.
Were you practicing your white people jokes a la Martin Lawrence and like
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
Your Bernie Macs, yeah. Your Bernie Mac and Chris Rock and President.
But Hank goes, but he, you know, this class is multiple days. This would be some shit. I forgot about driving class, but having to go to these things multiple days, especially in this scenario, it's got to be a nightmare. So day 2 comes, Hank goes back. I think he brings Bobby with him at this point, doesn't he?
Yeah, because he wants to talk him off the ledge. He's like, you know, that entertainment shit is the devil. You know, I'm going to show you like how sad their lives are. Are you going to come with me? I want to get to meet Buddha sack. And so he comes there. And, you know, Buddha sack, he lays into more of his white people jokes. Look at all these white people here. I thought black folks was the only one committing crime. Hey, that's yeah, they're all on their steering wheel like, oh dear, I think we missed our exit. And Bobby, he's got soda coming out of his nose. So he's like, he's sold.
I mean, that's comedy. That's when you know you've won. That's it. That's like a touchdown for a comedian. But Bobby's enthralled, Steve. This did exactly what the opposite of what Hank wanted. Bobby wants to get into that comedy mix, Steve. He's got to get in there. He's got to get on stage. Even if it means making fun of his dad, because he brings Bobby up there and he's just like, look at this, popping fresh. Poke at his belly. And Hank is just like, now listen here, Mr. Sack. That's my boy. Do your old man, does he drink a lot of beer with his old friends? Yeah. Did they stand around and say, yeah, all the time? No, more like, yep. God damn. And then Bobby actually tells some jokes. He gets up there and starts, you know, hamming it up. Buddha Sack's like, man, you're going to be the next white rerun. Gives him a little props. And again, Bobby now has the dream. It's been instilled into his head. He's going to be the next white rerun, Steve. The next white hamburger. Again, what was the other guy? Shucky Ducky. Quack, quack. Yeah. And like, so he's ganged up with his boys as usual along the fence. Yep. Mm-hmm, yep. And Bobby Hill, he comes along and he's just like, look at all these white people standing around with no butts. White people always walk around like they be crushing diamonds in there or something. And Dale, Boomhauer, and Bill love it, Steve. They love it. They're eating it up. Oh, that's true, man. You're talking about the white people with the butts. Hank's not loving it. And he wants all the comedy. He wants to kill his son's dream, Steve. He's not going to have this. I think there's also, oh no. Now I think Bobby sneaks away. Goes and hangs out with Buddha Sack one-on-one just to get, you know, get his mentor's comedy advice, you know? Sit down and have a bottle of ketchup. A bottle of ketchup, that's funny. Like, no, he's serious. That's all he's got. So you're in Arlen. I mean, you're really good. Like, why are you here? Like, well, I got a little risque on Moesha a couple years ago. And it's been hard for me ever since. Besides, TV's not where it's at, Bobby.
just giving the same people old stereotypes, playing the same old stories. Know what I mean? Know what I'm saying?
Then Bobby's like, hey, I got some new white people jokes I want to go over with you. And he goes into his whole routine. And, Budasek's like, just one problem, Bobby. You're not black, okay? You're white. So you got to come at it from your perspective and not tell these, you're just stealing jokes at this point. So where do you come from? Make some jokes about that, which, pretty good advice. But Bobby kind of he veers off of the course here, Steve.
And he invites him to his open mic. He's like, man, I got a dope comedy jam Sunday night. Come to our amateur night. It's like, yeah, all right, well, I'll check that out. And so he comes back and he's got his head in the stars. He tells Hank about this. And Hank's just like, I'm going to put it to you in a way you might understand. I'm not down with that.
And he tells Hank, like, Budasek told me not to listen to my parents, which you don't want to hear that as a parent. So Hank's just fuming. Budasek interfering with his child, possibly putting him on the course to be a stand-up comedian, which, that's going to end in disaster. We've seen it countless times. So I'm not down with that.
Yeah. And so now he wants to talk to his mom. He wants to know about his roots so he can do his homework. And she was like, well, your father and your father's father and his father, they got married and got a house and got kids.
Didn't they do anything funny? Oh, funny? Yeah. One of them churned some butter. Like, what?
And I like in the next scene how it's him, Joseph, and Connie. And he's just like, Connie, you're ethnic. You can use certain kinds of things. Me and Joseph, we're just regular white guys. And Joseph's just like, yeah. I like how Joseph is kind of in on the joke too.
Yeah. I like Bobby just saying that though. That's hilarious. Now Hank goes to like the office of where they have these traffic classes, and he basically just tattles on Budasek. He's like, he's telling my kid to do stuff. He's telling him not to listen to me, this, that, and the other. And the guy who runs it's like, that's terrible. That's awful. I'm going to talk to Budasek. We're going to talk to him. We're going to get you out of we're going to fire him from this class. Like, damn.
And shout out to that character because it's voiced by none other than John Amos, man. Famous for Good Times. He played James Evans and a lot of other things, man. Yeah. Legend,
okay.
Living legend, still with us, man. But yeah, Budasek, speaking of the devil, he comes in and he tells him like, Mr. Hill has a complaint with you. And Buddha's just like, ain't my fault he ain't got ass. Take it up with God.
As you alluded, Bobby, Joseph, and Khan's daughter are hanging out. They're in a basement now. And Bobby's trying to find like stuff about white people. He's got to find material about white people. So what better place to turn to than the internet, which is in its infancy at this point. But now they search, I guess, white people. And unfortunately, it doesn't take them to something with humor. I think it's a white supremacist website, Steve, which, I'm sure the internet's lousy with. I'm sure there's probably billboards in Texas for these things. But, I don't know if that's where you needed to go for the comedy. I don't know what's on there, but...
And, that's a bad source for comedy, man. And so the next scene, Bobby, he hits up Hank's friends because he needs a ride to the comedy club. He wants to try out some new material. Bill thinks he's just that's funny. And then like we find out that Budasek got fired because Khan tells Hank about that when he gets home. Oh, you got Budasek fired. Now they have this hack comic. I got watermelon all over me.
Gallagher's teaching the class, or maybe it's Gallagher too. It's the second coming,
Or Carrot Top.
But yeah, now Hank finds out that Bobby's gone. I think this club's called Snaps.
With a Z.
And Hank finds out Bobby went. He's pissed. So he's got to rush off to Snaps. And then we cut the Snaps. I love saying it. Snaps. I love it. And Budasak's there, he's hosting, and he ushers Bobby on stage. Bobby, the youngest comedian to go on the stage at this show, which, I mean, that's got to mean something. But Bobby gets up there, Steve, and all that white humor that he did his research on, it just doesn't translate. He's not there yet, you know?
Folks, I'm so white. During the riots, I went out and bought a television. Oh!
Budasak has to like save Bobby, Steve, because he's about to get Sandmaned off the stage.
But Hank gets there, he tries to save Bobby, and he's like, he's only 12 years old. Shut up, Whitey. Well, are you the Grand Wizard?
I mean, the material was getting spicy, so Hank's there, and Budasak comes on stage, Steve, just to get Bobby off. And instead of like, you know, just going in on him a little bit, which he should, he basically is like, look, guys, freedom of speech, First Amendment rights, which, I mean, that's crazy.
And a man on this stage can say any dumbass thing he wants, and it gets no reaction. Besides, look at this kid's daddy. Ain't got no butt at all. No butt at all. His booty's so small, he got to hold on to the light switch to keep from falling in the toilet.
So, I mean, comedy gold, Steve. As a white guy with ass, this would never be lobbed at me, but, you know, Hank's never going to get over on that. But he saved his son. I don't think Bobby's going to do comedy after this. That's got to be mortifying. But we cut to the parking lot, and seems like some amends have been made here, Steve. Hank's like, you know what, Budasak? You're a good dude. Thanks for saving my son up there. And they shake hands. And I think Hank even offers the dude, he's like, you know what? If you ever need a job in propane, I got something for you. Like, dude even offers the guy a job.
In the next scene, he's got the job because Hank's got that kind of pull. Hank's got that tenure. So it's like, man, you put him on the resume, shit, you good. And, you know, Budasak is a reoccurring character because he does pop up in episodes after this, man. So he kept that propane job for a while.
Well, his name, we find out his government is Roger, I believe, you know?
Yeah.
And he says he's like stinking ass gas. So he's like making fun of him. Like, that's where Hank's like, hold on here. When it comes to propane, there are no jokes. And actually, that smell that you smell isn't from the gas. We put it in there to save your life, Roger. So get it straight.
Has no natural smell. Yeah, man. Another great episode. I did another one, just like Seinfeld, man. I didn't appreciate it until it was too late. Like, you know, I would watch it periodically if nothing else was on, but it wasn't until syndication. It was like, damn. And then, like I said before, living in Texas, it gave it more authenticity. Like, damn, I know some of these people.
That's amazing. That's got to add a layer to it. But for me, I was thinking about it. I think what happened was I was a Simpsons fanatic. And then when this came out, it was almost like, meh, it's not The Simpsons. So I avoided it for a while. And I think I just kind of avoided it and was like, never fully checked it out. But when it was on in syndication, it's, you know, you watch it and you love it. I just never got into like the full rotation. But man, why never doubt Mike Judge, you know? Or Budasak for that matter. Don't doubt that either. Booty all small and shit.
Like they holding diamonds or something. But in 1998, I believe that same year, Super Brawl 8 is aired on pay-per-view through WCW at the Cow Palace in Daly City, California. And this is memorable because this is the event where Scotty finally did it. I was always wondering, like, when did he do it? When did he turn on Rick, his brother, man? And this was it, Super Brawl 8, man. You know, he's got him in that familiar position where Rick is on the ground. He's doing his dog face gremlin and Scotty's above him. And then he's like, pounce him. And then, you know, he starts throwing out that but life.
He's the birth of the big bad booty daddies, Steve. I mean,
and boy, we did not know the greatness that would be ahead of us.
Who saw this coming from? Because he was like the collegiate athlete, like technical, just everything. Didn't really have a lot of Mike stuff, like other than just, like being like, we're gonna kill you, brother, like stuff like that. And then he comes out with the big bad booty daddy lines. I mean, Val Venus level mic work that just gets better and better each year, and the look got different. He added in like the blonde Eminem flat, or like buzz,
Platinum,
the
yeah.
the weird night mesh thing that he would wear out to the in his entrance. Like he just kept adding to it, and also the muscles kept getting to a more insane level of jackness as well.
You know what else, Matt? He's into his eyes. I love both versions because, like you said, like they both were amateur wrestlers for the University of State up north, and like that was their thing, man. And like that was really cool because they would always have like these '90s style singlets. They would be like neon green with orange. It was super '90s looking. And he was the guy that introduced the Hurricane Rana to me, but we call it the Frankensteiner.
You loved it. I mean, it was the move. That was like something I remember doing that with my figures and waiting for him to do that. When you knew the Steiner brothers were going to be on at the end, you had to watch because of that.
And those guys, I would probably say top 5. Yeah, for sure. I know for sure.
Definitely.
Top 5.
Tag teams, for sure. And their blood, those old school. I think one of the WCW magazines that I have like in my stash has one of those like posters where it's them in their Letterman jackets and shit. Because I think they wore those for like a while. That was like part of their ring attire. Hell yeah, dude. But I like this version of Scott Steiner, I think, a little bit more though. The crazy, just because the roid, I mean, remember his bicep? There became a point where the bicep had like mass on top that I've never even seen at like a Mr. Universe level. He just had this crazy fucking arm, dude.
How the fuck? I didn't know there could be another muscle on top of that muscle. What the?
Yeah, dude. You were amazed. Like it kept getting crazier and crazier as him in NWO when he was this. It just, yeah, dude. Plus the what was the name of his move? The Steiner recliner. I mean, god damn.
You love us some pop, man. But any callbacks, honorable mentions, or kids you need to get out your yard?
One shout out to the big bad booty daddy himself. I love that. Scott Steiner, we love you. You're crazy. But this is just timely. I watched it recently. We've been getting like some cool stuff after the Super Bowl, but they released a promo for they're bringing back the X-Men animated series from the 90s and doing more like a continuation of it. And I watched the preview or the trailer or whatever for it. It's coming out in March. And as somebody who grew up with that cartoon, I don't know if it's going to be good, but the fact that they're continuing it, they're giving us more of that exact style of cartoon. I have to watch it. I'm very excited about it. And it was cool to see that.
That whole franchise, just there's so much you can do with it. Like, we have yet to have a breakout show from one of the characters, man. Like, so much time has passed. Like, we could have had a Wolverine series, a Cyclops, a Gambit series. And there's so many fucking different there's like over 100 X, like outside of the main ones that we know. There's so much you can do with that. Nightcrawler, Beast, Jubilee, Storm, like Rogue, all like
they have such great villains too. Like I think DC's villains, like that's what brings you to the table for DC comics. And Marvel is kind of like iffy, but the X-Men villains like Magneto, there's a guy named Mr. Sinister who looks kind of weird, but he was always cool. It was just a great everything. And the cartoon was, for somebody who kind of was into comics, it got me even more into comics. It was so good. And the fact that they're not trying to do something, they're actually giving people who watch that show more of what they grew up on. and I love that. You know, maybe it's good. I hope it's good, but when I saw the preview, I was like, oh yes, finally. Like maybe they won't fuck this up.
And let me guess, it's going to be on Disney.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That does it. I have to get my fucking subscription back. Like I thought I could go without it, but like no, you added more Muppet shit, the old school shit. You got this Marvel.
I don't know. I mean, if I didn't have it, I would definitely get it to watch this. You know, so but keep your fingers crossed. We're gonna get it here soon. I've been reading that some of the things are going to tie into that new Deadpool movie, which, I mean, that's kind of cool too. I love Deadpool, but love seeing 90s X-Men cartoon brought back, starting from exactly where it left off in the last episode that we got in the cartoon, which I think we covered in this, at least in passing, where Charles Xavier's like whisked away because he's dying. So love it. Bishop's going to be in it. Wolverine's in it. Gambit's in it. And the one thing I got to shout out on the trailer, Gambit jumps on Wolverine's back. They're running at something, and he charges Wolverine's claws with the energy he puts into the cards. So there's some sort of Gambit Wolverine combo move that we're going to get to see, which little me creamed in his jeans when he saw that, you know.
Got his own like built-in Wi-Fi.
Basically. But what about you?
Man, two things from 92. So on February 22nd, 92, Howard Stern is airing Homeless Hollywood Squares. And I mean, it's great for a lot of reasons. He's got his Whack Pack. Well, this edition of Whack Pack, this is before we met the Hank and the Beetlejuice and all of that. But in the middle square, he's got Daniel Carter, the former Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. And because it's still Black History Month, I refuse to cover this episode. But there is a part two. There is a part two of Homeless Hollywood Squares.
Oh, no.
So we'll see you in March, Howard, because it's that fucking funny. Like, you know, he's saying Daniel Carver's saying some things, but hey, I mean, for the sake of comedy, goddammit, and like the contestants, they're homeless. So that's where that kicks in. But Howard being Howard. But also in 92, that same night, SNL is airing the episode with Red Hot Chili Peppers as the musical guest. Love that. And Roseanne Arnold and Tom Arnold are the hosts, man. And overall, it was solid. I expected more considering it was, a two-piece co-hosting. But it's worth a watch if you were ever an SNL fan or a fan of Roseanne, of the show. They were a fragment in time in pop culture history. But please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please tell your sister that she's a creep, she's a loser. What the hell is she doing here? She don't belong. Check out Food Show Fanatics with Kendra and Matt King, as well as Crush Guys every Wednesday with Kendra and our guy, Clark the Shark, Council Clark on the podcast. So this is Steve G and Matthew.
Happened in the 90s. New World Order.
You son of a bitch.